All right, let's talk about something that's probably in most of our refrigerators right now, milk. For so many of us, a glass of milk is just breakfast. It's what we grew up on. But have you ever stopped to wonder if starting your day with milk on a totally empty stomach is actually the best move for your body? Or could it be causing issues you haven't even thought about? And that's really the big question we're digging into, isn't it? We have this idea of milk as this gentle, soothing thing, what you drink to calm an upset stomach. But could that comforting glass actually be a hidden trigger, setting you up for discomfort for the rest of the day? Well, the truth is, it's complicated. So, where did we even get this idea that milk is a stomach remedy? Believe it or not, if you were having this conversation a few decades ago, even doctors would have told you to drink milk for things like ulcers. It just seemed to make sense. But oh, how the tables have turned. That advice has changed, and for some very good reasons.
Now, this right here is exactly why the myth is so powerful and is stuck around for so long. When you drink that cold glass of milk, it feels good. It temporarily raises the pH in your stomach, it coats the lining, and you get this immediate sense of relief. It's that ah moment. But, and this is a big but, that relief is a bit of a mirage.
And this brings us to the most crucial part of the story, something called the acid rebound effect. That initial calming feeling? Yeah, it doesn't last long. In fact, for a lot of people, that glass of milk can end up doing the exact opposite of what you want it to do. Let me show you how it works. Okay, check this out. It happens in 4 simple steps. Step 1, you get that nice temporary relief. But then, in step 2, the protein and calcium in the milk basically send a signal to your stomach saying, hey, time to get to work. So what does your stomach do? It starts pumping out more acid to digest everything. And here's the kicker. Step 4, about an hour later, you can end up with more acid in your stomach than you started with. And hey, you don't have to just take my word for it. This quote from a gastroenterologist says it all. The very thing people reach for to get relief can end up fueling the fire. This isn't just a theory, it's a well-known response in our bodies. But wait, the story doesn't just end with acid. Not at all. Milk is a really complex food, and there are other parts to it that can cause issues, especially when your stomach is empty. So let's talk about what else is going on, starting with fat. So, try to picture a little muscular door between your esophagus and your stomach. That's your LES. Its entire job is to stay shut and keep all that powerful stomach acid down where it belongs. The problem is, fatty foods are known to make that little door kinda lazy. It relaxes, making it way easier for acid to splash back up and cause that awful heartburn feeling. And this gives us a really clear, practical choice. 1 cup of whole milk has about 8 grams of fat. That fat and relax that valve, and it makes your stomach empty slower, which gives acid more time to make trouble. So if you're someone who fights with acid reflux, you can see right away that skim milk is a much, much safer bet.
Of course, you can't have a conversation about milk without talking about lactose intolerance. It is super common, and it's really important to know that this is a digestive problem, not an allergy. It just means your body doesn't make enough of an enzyme called lactose, which is the tool you need to break down the sugar in milk.
And when you drink milk on an empty stomach, that lactose hits your system hard and fast. If your body can't break it down, it ends up being a feast for bacteria in your gut. And the result of that bacterial party, well, it's all those classic, uncomfortable symptoms you see right here. Bloating, gas, stomach pain, you get the picture. Okay, this table is really fascinating because you might think, no problem, I'll just switch to skim milk to avoid the fat. But hold on, look closer. While whole milk is a double whammy, skim milk has the most concentrated amount of protein and calcium. And what does that mean? It can cause the strongest acid rebound. So the main takeaway here is pretty clear. All types of cow's milk get that acid production going.
And now for something you probably never thought about. See this number? 50%. That's how much the calcium in milk can actually block your body from absorbing a certain type of iron, the kind you get from supplements or plants. That is a massive impact.
It actually has a scientific name, iron-calcium antagonism. Basically, these 2 minerals are fighting for the same parking spot in your gut, and only one can get it. So if you're taking iron for something like anemia, drinking it with milk is a huge no-no. The simple fix? Just take your milk and your iron supplement at least 2 hours apart. Easy.
Okay, so modern science paints a pretty complex picture, right? But what if we look at this from a totally different angle? Let's switch gears and turn to Ayurveda, the ancient system of medicine from India, which has a very specific
and very different view on milk.
In Ayurveda, you don't just pour milk from a carton and drink it. No, it's prepared. The rules are to always boil it, drink it warm, add spices to help with digestion, and this one's huge, drink it by itself, not with a meal. That is basically the exact opposite of having a cold glass of milk with a bowl of cereal.
And Ayurveda gets even more personal. It says whether milk is good for you on an empty stomach depends on your unique body type, or dosha. So for some types, warm milk in the morning is actually a good thing, but for another type, it's something to avoid because it can create mucus. It's a really fascinating ancient example of personalized nutrition.
So, let's bring this all back home. We've got the science, we've got the ancient wisdom. How do you figure out what's right for you? Honestly, it all comes down to being your own body's detective and listening to the signals it's sending you.
Think of this as your personal checklist. If you deal with acidity all the time, you could be dealing with that acid rebound. If you're always bloated after breakfast, that could be a huge clue about lactose. Just pay attention. If you're nodding your head to anything on this list, your body is probably trying to tell you something.
Okay, we have covered a lot of ground. Acid rebound, fat, lactose, iron, ancient wisdom, the whole shebang. So what's the final verdict? What's the one thing you should walk away with?
Well, the bottom line is, there is no single bottom line. There is no simple yes or no answer that works for everyone. For some people, a glass of milk in the morning is fantastic. For others, it's a recipe for disaster. The only right answer is the one that's right for your body. And that really brings us to the final, most important question. We spend so much time looking for rules to follow. Eat this, not that. But the best advice you'll ever get comes from your own body. So the question isn't just about milk. It's about whether you're just following a rule you heard somewhere or if you're actually listening to what your body is trying to tell you.